This is Dr. Melita Tate. We're recording live here from Grassroots HealthCare. We're located at 91st and Sheridan, which in Tulsa, Oklahoma, for those of you who may be out of state or out of the area. We're on 91st and Sheridan. We have a small clinic here for our patients and their families who are without insurance or who have high deductible insurance. We've been here for 3 years. I'm a local internal medicine and pediatrician physician, and at our clinic we take care of big people and little people. We started this clinic about 3 years ago, and we wanted to welcome you today to the show live that we're doing here on the internet. We have some viewers. If you're interested, you can invite your friends if there's anyone who's interested in talking about the flu, other viral infections, and anyone who's interested in more natural measures to boost their immune system and to fight off different viruses and bacterial infections with the cold and flu season coming up. And if you have any friends who have children, I'm going to read a children's book at the end of the show today. So anybody that you can think of that you want to invite live to the show, there's a button I think that you can push up the top and invite your friends. Also, you can watch this later and view everything later, but or review it if there's any questions that you may have. There's a place on our show. We're going to try to be answering questions live, off and on throughout at different times throughout the show. And so I can look over here and scroll down and see viewers' questions and be able to try to address those as best I can live. If there's anything that I need to do some more research on, then we'll try to get back to you in 2 weeks with the next show. All right, but welcome to the show. We're going to talk today about some different ways to boost your health and immunity in a natural way. When we started this clinic 3 years ago, myself and our partner, we wanted to have a place where patients could come and know how much things cost. We wanted a clinic that was free as it could possibly be from government and insurance influence. And so we love to say that here. We don't take any form of insurance whatsoever. We don't take Medicare either. They have a law that says that 15% of patients, or you have to charge 15% less and no less than 15%, no more than 15% less than Medicare costs to your patients if you accept Medicare, or Medicare can come back and fine you. And because our charges are so much less, our office visits are anywhere from $49 to an established patient simple sick visit, ranging up. Usually they don't range much more than $79 or $89 as far as the office visit, but sometimes they do. Just depends on how complicated things are, and that's with a new patient fee of $20. So our patients are able to get in, know how much their office visit is. All of our labs that we can are posted in the front lobby so people can kind of get an idea of how much their lab may run them. And we try to tell them right at the time of service how much things are going to cost and work that out with our patients. Some of our patients have gotten insurance and they still choose to come here, but we do tell them, if they need prior auths filled out, paperwork, insurance dollars pushed around, that we recommend that they get a doctor who will do those things for them, because we don't spend our time pushing insurance money around. We spend our time with our patients, and that keeps the cost down for our patients. So if you have a high deductible or no insurance, we are the place for you. At 91st and Sheridan, you can call our office 918-878-7733, or come by and visit us. As we've grown, we've started becoming more and more interested in health and wellness. Our patients that come in have slowly but surely, we've begun to draw patients from the local midwife clinic. We draw patients from the chiropractor's office, because we try to avoid as much medication as possible. It is our belief that a lot of medications, it's our knowledge that a lot of the medications that we take on a routine daily basis are not good for our systems. There's numerous side chains and different chemical components in them that over the long term are making us sick. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm an MD, and my medical education was basically one long drug company commercial, and I'm quite willing and capable of prescribing medications to my patients. And a lot of times when patients first come in here, they're so sick that you can't give them natural honey for their allergies when their allergies have already gone out of control. But what we try to do is treat the acute phase of the problem, and then with a goal of getting that patient off of high blood pressure medication or off of a chronic allergy medication by educating them and coming along underneath and supporting their natural immunity and their natural ability to fight off different infections or to get their blood pressures down. And that's led us to a lot of things that patients know already: lose weight, hold your salt intake, those kind of nutritional things that we can do. But there's also different foods and plant materials that these are the basis of how we discovered some of the drugs and medications that we have in the first place, that we can have the patients ingest, and their bodies will then begin to take in the components of those things that they need and begin to get off some of their medications, that they'll start to lose weight. And that's our goal here, is to keep our patients on the lowest number of medications possible. And in this way, we can see that they're not going to develop further in future long-term health problems from the very medications that we put them on to improve their health in the first place. We don't want our patients spending more and more monies on diabetic drugs, and then later on down the line possibly spending more and more money on chemotherapeutic agents or things like that if they do develop cancers. And we talk a lot about ways that we can help our patients learn to keep their bodies in a healthy state so that cancer and viral things won't survive. So if that sounds like a place that you're interested in coming, then we'd love to have you here. We have several friendly staff members. We do have a Hispanic speaking staff member at the front too, so Spanish speaking staff members. And we're very open to alternative regimens and alternative immunization schedules. We'll work with the patients on that. And so if that's something that you're interested in, we're open to those kind of things. And we'll be glad to discuss all of that with you. Which brings us to our topic today. We have several things we wanted to go over today, but we're focusing mainly on preventing illness versus treating with antibiotic. We're talking about different immune enhancing components so that you can stay well. We've received a lot of questions regarding immunizations. I'm not going to open up the floor to answer questions about all the immunizations. Let me look over here and see if we're getting any questions yet. I'm going to have to jiggle my computer just a little bit. Do that. Get the auto refresh here. So no questions or comments yet, but so I'm going to go on with the topics. One of the first things that we want to talk about today are immunizations. We have several, quite a few patients here who follow, babies who follow an alternative immunization schedule. Now, this is a very, very controversial subject, so I'm going to discuss this as best I can. I'll try not to get into too heated of a debate here. This is something that hasn't been able to be solved in the local media, and so I doubt very seriously I'm going to make everyone happy with my discussion of it today, but I do want you to know that we're open to doing alternative regimens. I think that parents that are interested in doing a different regimen or a slower immunization schedule for their baby should have that right. I also think that they should be able to be educated about it, and just telling them that we refuse to do that and sending them on their way to figure out their own course is not being responsible as a physician. And so I think all the pediatricians in town should at least visit with these parents, look into some alternative ways to get some of these immunizations done, and then know which ones that aren't dangerous to wait as dangerous to wait on. Not every immunization that the government is giving us did we have available when we were younger. And so there may be things that parents want to wait a little bit longer till their kids are older to get, and that's a reasonable request. And furthermore, I think that it's their right. So if you're interested in that kind of immunization style or schedule, there's some good books out by Dr. Sears. Most of the questions that we're getting asked currently are regarding the flu vaccine. So let me give you some information about that that I give to my patients. It is the current medical recommendation that people receive their flu vaccines, especially people who have concurrent health problems, the very, very young and the very, very old, are more likely to die from having the flu. And we do have deaths from the flu every year. So keep that in mind when you're making decisions or choosing to argue with maybe your friends or your parents or grandparents if you decide not to immunize, that this topic is not without pros and cons on both sides. People do die from the flu every year. That being said, getting an injection yearly from the government, it may not be our best choice either for our body's long-term health. Those things haven't been established yet, and so some patients would rather build their immunity and learn ways to fight these things off naturally. So you're at increased risk of death from the flu if you have concurrent comorbidities such as diabetes, if you have lung problems, asthma, those kind of things. All that being said, I've worked in the urgent care for many, many years, and I've seen the flu come back. Patients who've gotten the flu vaccine still can get the flu. Sometimes the CDC can't reliably predict which strain's going to come through, so we'll invariably get patients who are so upset because they got the flu anyway, even though they got their flu vaccine. So there is no guarantee that even if you get the flu vaccine, you're going to be protected, and that happens every year that we have patients like that. So let's keep that in mind too. So if you're interested in some other alternative measures to avoid taking the flu vaccine this year, we're going to go over those things as well. Keep in mind, if you do come down with the flu, you're going to be pretty miserable. You're going to be out of the loop for about 7 to 10 days with high fevers, running, feeling achy, and really just not able to really function at your job. You're going to miss some days of work, and that's something to be expected. So keep that in mind, that is a risk that you're taking if you don't get the flu shot this year. But you're also going to have that risk even if you do get it to some degree. I do tell my patients that are going to get the flu shot to wait until a little bit later in the season. The flu hasn't sprung out yet, and so the earlier you get in your flu shot, the sooner you may wind up with the flu in January or February if it breaks out then, and you're more likely to if you got your flu shot early. So keep that in mind as well. Don't rush out and get your first flu shot worried that you're going to run out of them. Go out and get it when you get closer to time that the flu will break out. So, mid-November. The current health recommendations are to start in October, but I usually tell my patients that are going to get that shot to wait a little bit longer. Okay, so continuing on with our topic though today, and the thing that most of our patients are more interested in is that there are ways to boost your immune system without ever taking the flu shot. You don't need an outside source. You don't need me to boost your immune system. You don't need a medication to get your immune system going. Simple education will allow you to take care of your bodies. It is true that in a more alkaline environment, meaning patients who eat more fruits and vegetables and less acidic producing substances such as meats and some of the other carbohydrates and things that we know are bad for us. If you're eating more of the fruits and vegetables, we know cancers can't survive. Many cancers are based off of, we're finding more and more that are based off of an original viral infection, and viruses can't survive as well, nor can any infection in an alkaline environment. So if your body's healthy and strong and you're eating good for you type of foods, or you're taking a supplement, those are really good ways to prevent yourself from getting disease. So along with, we talked last week a little bit about some different alkaline substances we have here. We have Alkylene Tablets. We talked about some natural foods you could eat to bring your body to a more alkaline state. We have those Alkylene Tablets. They're still on sale here if you want to try them. There's a booklet that comes with them and some pH test strips so you can see how well your body responds to an alkaline challenge, and then also see how well you're maintaining an alkaline state afterwards. And so if you're interested in those, we still have a few of those left. I think the price that we set last week was $15. And so we'll continue to offer that for as long as they last, and we'll order some more. Now, other ways to keep your body alkaline too are you can try their essential oils. Patients are very excited about using those, and you can use regular lemon juice in your lemon water. Even though it's acidic, it will lead to a more alkaline state when it's metabolized in the body. And let me get my Alkylene. These are what the Alkylene tablets look like. They smell like cows. And we also have available lemon essential oil through one of the more expensive manufacturers, but still one of the highest quality manufacturers are the Young Living essential oils. There's other essential oils on the market. You want to make sure that you're getting a therapeutic grade essential oil, but a few drops of lemon oil in your water is going to, they're an aromatic compound, so they're almost like a drug without the side chains. They're made from the citrus fruit being condensed and purified to the point that it's just in a basic oil. They've used these clear back in the days of the pharaohs in Egypt, and probably, truth be told, much earlier than that. So these are medicinal compounds that you can add that'll help alkalinize your body, and they do help our bodies to function and fight off immunity. And I'd like to, next time we come, to have someone who knows quite a bit about the essential oils come and give us a talk, because I know they're kind of a hot topic right now with most of my patients. So I'm going to ask Ivy Norris if she can come to one of our shows in the future and talk to us a little bit about the essential oils. And one of my favorite chiropractors too might be coming to hear us in the future, or to talk with us in the future if I can get them convinced to come. All right, so talking a little bit more about the influenza epidemic, I wanted to briefly touch on the fact that some of the oils are better for our immunity than others. So the upcoming influenza things that we're going to be facing, or any other viral illnesses that may be popping up in the news lately, we want to do as much as we can to keep our health strong so that we can fight off viruses on our own, because our best defense for viruses, since we don't have a lot of antiviral other than Tamiflu, is to take our own immune systems and fight that virus off. And so some people will be able to do that. We have to be careful because the FDA doesn't endorse certain natural therapies or herbal therapies, because there have not been, according to a lot of the things that you'll read on the internet, there have not been, and in the medical literature, there's not been sufficient studies done on some of the natural therapies to prove that they work. The reason that is because the people who are doing all those sufficient studies that are big, randomized, controlled, double-blind, placebo controlled trials are either lobbied for by the drug companies, usually if they're a very big study, or they're being conducted by the pharmaceutical industry. And there's a lot of money to be made on those trials and their outcomes. There is not a lot of money to be made on evaluating natural remedies, because the way things are set up here is those medications or those over-the-counter remedies would be considered enabling people to care for their own health. They're not going to be sold at a high rate, and that will not further the cause of the pharmaceutical grindstone, so to speak, of industry. And so those studies won't ever be done. So if we're just practicing evidence-based medicine, and I was on quite a tyrant last night with one of my friends about this on Facebook, and he agrees with me, if we're just practicing evidence-based medicine, then all we're doing as physicians are being in the drug company's pocket. So I want to enable you to understand that we know that vitamin C it boosts immunity. Everyone knows that it helps with our immune system. A lot of the fruits and things that we're getting now, though, are being monocropped. They're being grown over and over in the same soil. And yes, we do go back through and put a lot of the trace minerals and elements that we can back into the soil, but it's not the same as having enough soil to rotate crops and make sure that the soil is taken good care of. So You're missing a lot of the trace elements and nutrients in your food sources and supplies that you had previously. Also, it has been documented that some of the GMO food sources that have been fed to pigs have increased their inflammation of their stomach. That increases their risk for cancers of the stomach, and they've had increased risks of that with some of the GMO food sources that the pigs have been fed. And we're in turn feeding those animals to our family, friends, and children. So keep all of that in mind whenever you think about where your food's coming from. If you can at all, grow your own food and try to rotate crops and things like that. But if you can't, I strongly encourage you to find sources of vitamin C like the essential oils, the lemon. There's lemon essential oil. For years, they've put that on the bottom of the feet to help with immunity. And so that one's a very good one. There's also an oil, and it's made up of a blend of several different oils. It's Thieves Oil. And you can get that through the Young Living, a Young Living representative. We're going to have those available for a really low price here at the clinic too. And so if you want to come by and pick those up, just call us ahead of time so we can order them a few days ahead. We're not going to keep a whole bunch of them here. But if you want them, and you give us a call at 918-878-7733, we'll have those available for you at a discounted price. I think we've listed those at the bottom of the page, but let me double check and make sure I don't tell on air a price that's going to get us in trouble. And you can find these probably for cheaper at other places again, so I don't want to just say that this is the only place, but I do know the integrity of this company. They go from the seed all the way to the bottle. They take their time and make sure that everything is done well. And so they have integrity with their seeds, supplies, all those things. So I'm really encourage you to try to find a place, either a Young Living representative or someone else who has a good quality oil. It needs to be therapeutic grade, and purchase some lemon oil for alkalinity of the body and to fight off infection, and also Thieves Oil. One of the ways that they got the name for Thieves Oil is the legend about during the plague times that there were some merchants who were ported in the area and weren't able to leave, and they would make their living by going around and stealing from the plague victims, anything that was on the personage. So their bodies, the bodies, they would go and take the coins or whatever they could get, the money, those things. So the patients or the merchants were able to survive and still be around the plague victims, which they thought was very unusual. And so they asked how they were doing this, and they were using a blend of oil that they kept in a mask. They kept a long, I'm using my hands here, but a long conical mask, and in the front that they breathed through, and in the front they had put some different kind of essential oil soaked material, and that filtered out the air. So these oils are tiny particulates, things like that will be filtered out through the air. I have a theory that the reason we put them on our feet, the lymph system flows. Basically, all of our body has, tiny little blood vessels, and everything goes down, and then most of the blood comes back up through the veins. But we do get some patients who, or not even just patients, all of us get some extrusion of fluid out into our feet. If we're on our feet for a long time, they'll get swollen, that kind of thing. The lymph channels are very, very, very tiny, and they bring fluid slowly back up, and that is filtered through each of our lymph nodes. And there's tons of lymph nodes in our feet, or behind our knees. They're located in our groin area, all the way up through the body. And so if you put those oils on your feet, they're coming up through your lymph channels. That's where most of the infections are going to be coming through, and your lymph nodes can use those things to kind of help support them and increase your immunity. So another thing I need to talk about, which I did not put on our schedule today, but I wanted to say that there have been some evidence for silver particles, nanoparticles of silver, and how those particles can help fight off bacteria. I've read the medical literature myself. The Food and Drug Administration doesn't really promote using that. There was a case, many cases of argyria, which is poisoning where people turn blue, which happened quite a few years ago. We think it was from a bad batch of the colloidal silver, but that's always a risk. However, they still sell the colloidal silver, and lots of people use it. Chiropractors and people who are aware of it use it to treat viruses and things like that. And colloidal silver is available in many of the stores around here, Atkins, Whole Foods. There's a natural therapy store in Sapulpa where there's a wonderful lady who does iridology, and they have quite a bit of colloidal silver there too. And I did see last night where they were doing some treatments with colloidal silver in some of the countries where there's been recent outbreaks of viral infections. And the FDA did make the comment that they wanted us to know that none of that has been evaluated by the FDA, and so they don't support that. You can use that as you will, but the colloidal silver works different ways. The nanoparticles of silver work several different ways to stop the bacterial cell wall from being able to communicate with its external environment. And there's just different ways that it stops the bacteria from being able to work, and it works virally as well. So if you're interested in that, I encourage you to do some research about it and see if that might be something that you would like to do. Okay. So those are some different things that you can do to boost your immunity naturally. I forgot to say that if you're interested at the end, if you have kids or you know someone who does, because this will be recorded and you'll be able to access it off the internet for the next few days, I'm going to read a children's story, one of my favorites, with voices. At the end of the program, we're going to do "I Need My Monster" by Amanda Knoll, and so I'm going to read that at the very end of the program. Let's see. I want to make sure I cover everything. Also, if you're interested and you want to put on here that you're interested in purchasing the any of the essential oils, you're welcome to give us a quick buzz or text us, or however you do it. Comment on Facebook over here, and we'll get those ordered for you. Be sure and leave a phone number if you're not one of our patients so we can get a hold of you, sometimes even if you are. All right, so let me talk briefly about, I want to make sure I cover everything. We did talk a little bit about trace minerals. The trace minerals being in the food, I wanted to bring that up really quick. Not whether or not you have enough trace minerals present or not present in your food is important. Let me explain to you a couple reasons why. One, we do know that chromium is a very important trace mineral for diabetes. If you have diabetes, I encourage you to check with your physician and let him know, but chromium's wonderful. You can check on web, and chromium helps support the pancreas. So we're finding out these kind of things all the time. And so a lot of just routine physicians will put patients with diabetes on chromium. We'll see their blood sugars come down just from simply being on the trace mineral that their body may need. So if you can get your diabetes down by adding a trace mineral rather than a drug with a lot of side effects, I'd recommend that you add the chromium. A few people can't tolerate it. There are probably people who don't need the chromium in the first place, or that need another trace mineral, but it helps with diabetes. The other trace mineral that helps support the thyroid is selenium. Patients cannot convert T4, which is what our thyroid medication is basically, is T4, to the active form of T3 without the cofactor of selenium in that equation of conversion. So if you have thyroid illness and you're taking Synthroid or levothyroxine, those are basically T4. They're inactive in your body. If your selenium levels are low, which a lot of us are low on many trace minerals and elements, I think there's only 25 micrograms of selenium in most vitamins. Most people need 200 on a daily basis. So you will want to get some selenium, 200 micrograms. Try that, see if it helps you convert over to your T3. Be sure you have your doctor check your labs and make sure you're in the right parameters at some point, but that's important. Magnesium is also very, very important. If your magnesium levels are low in your body and you don't treat that, then you're going to have some problems taking things up into your cells. Now, the magnesium levels may be normal in your blood, just like calcium. You can have a low calcium to the point of the detriment of your bones, but your blood level of calcium will stay normal. So keep those things in mind. Just because your blood level of magnesium is normal doesn't mean that your magnesium level is right for you. And so supplementing with a little magnesium, whether it be in some form of Epsom salts that you take in through a bath with your skins, versus magnesium glycinate, which we put a lot of our patients on through Economy Pharmacy to try to help with sleep at night, to try to help with different, paresthesias or discomforts, neuropathy type discomforts. We'll try the patients on magnesium. It helps with blood pressure. So if there's no contraindication, you're not a gout patient or things like that, then we can try some low dose magnesium. And it helps you take everything up in your cells, because it doesn't matter how good your lab levels look in the bloodstream. If it's not getting into your cells, then you still can be hypothyroid or have an illness, and it's just not being carried over into the cells. We can treat you all day and have your lab levels be normal of your hormones, but if they're not getting into your cells, then the cells can't use them. So those are some interesting things about trace minerals. I did want to speak briefly about antibiotics, when not to take them and why, and also probiotics. Everybody knows about antibiotic resistance. Usually by this point, you don't develop resistance to an antibiotic inside of yourself. The community as a whole develops resistance to antibiotics, kind of like a herd resistance. So if you take too many antibiotics, or you're taking them for things that you don't need them for, your immune system doesn't have a chance to respond and fight off anything. It weakens your immune system. Also, antibiotics kill off good bacteria as well as bad bacteria. What that can mean is that inside of you, in your intestines, where you need those good bacteria to be able to break down certain components, we kind of have a symbiotic relationship with those bacteria. And if you're having a loss of the normal bacteria in your colon, then you're going to get increase of other things that are going to take over that area and start to grow there. So it's called an opportunistic infection. It's usually going to be yeast in the human body, and those things can slow down our digestion, and they can cause all sorts of trouble. So if you're taking antibiotics on a regular basis or too often, these are going to kill out your normal good bacteria in your gut. You're going to have problems with your digestion. You're going to get overgrown with yeast, and you may or may not have it on the external, where we doctors can see it and treat it. Just because we can't see and treat things, sometimes we tend to think that it's not real or it's not there, but it can still be there. It can be very valid. It can cause slowing of the digestion. It can cause increased weight gain. So please, if you do take an antibiotic, if you have a reason, if you have something serious, then you're going to want to take also, when you're finished with that, a probiotic, reestablish the good bacteria in your gut. Eat yogurt, things like that have the good bacteria that you need, because you've killed off all those good bacteria, and I don't want people getting out of balance in their digestive systems. And a lot of that's been the case today, in today's world. Okay, let me see if there's anything else I'm skipped over. There have been some promising clinical trials on some of the essential oils. I'm going to see if I can pull that up for you guys really quickly here. I'm nervous about clicking off of this because I won't be able to find it again, but I tried to save those. But the promising clinical trials have shown some improvement with lemon oil, thieves oil, some herbs that you can consider using are garlic and things like that to boost your immunity. Garlic and ginger are very good for boosting patients' immunity. So get yourself some garlic growing in your yard. You just take those bulbs of garlic, those cloves, and plant them like a bulb in the fall, and you can have some garlic next year from your own garden patch, and you can use that on a daily basis if you want to. So if you're interested in boosting your immune system, try some of these things. And if you're not going to get the flu shot this year, keep in mind, you may still get the flu. These are some things that you can do to kind of help yourself through it and boost your immune system. Okay? So all that being said, our essential oils that we're offering, if you're interested, and I think you can find them cheaper through a different company if you'd like. I really like the product, so I'm offering them through the clinic, and we're offering them at basically what they cost us. So if you're interested, we'll order you Thieves Oil, the 15 ml bottle, or the 5 ml bottle, or the lemon oil, the 15 ml bottle. And the Thieves Oil is $25 for the 15 ml or 15 for the 5 ml. And we'll do the same with the lemon oil. We'll order that for you for 15 for the 15 ml bottle. So if you're interested in that, give us a call, 918-878-7733. You can try those to help boost your immunity, and we'll see how that works. I told them about the flu shot, Kelly, so I'm not taking the flu shot. Do we have patients? Okay. All right, so I'm going to read this book really quick, and for the kids, so if you have kids and they're interested in hearing it, I'm going to read I Need My Monster by Amanda Knoll. All right, so see if I can do it this way so you guys can see it here and adjust it. All right, I Need My Monster by Amanda Knoll. I need my monster. All right. See if I can adjust this so you guys can see too. Hopefully that'll focus in there good if I get still. All right, you see the guy in the bed there? He's in his bed. He's looking around the room. And here's what it says. Tonight, when I looked under the bed for my monster, I found this note instead. Gone fishing, back in a week, Gabe. What was I going to do? I needed a monster under my bed. How was I supposed to get to sleep if my monster was gone? Look at him looking under his bed. He got a note from his monster. Have you ever gotten that before? Have you guys ever gotten a note from your monster? Kelly has. All right. Can you see that? All right. So, I tried to sleep, but it wasn't the same without Gabe. I missed his ragged breathing, his nose whistling, the scrabbling of his uncut claws. How would I ever get to sleep without Gabe's familiar scary noises and his spooky green ooze? It was no use. Gabe would be gone for a week, and I just had to have a monster. I climbed quietly out of my bed so my parents wouldn't hear me. Grown-ups have some very strange ideas about monsters under beds. I knocked on the floorboards, then scrambled back under my covers. I waited nervously. Would a new monster appear? What would it be like? Would his snorting be as cheerful as Gabe's? When I heard some creaking under my bed, I knew that the substitute monster had arrived. Good evening, said a low, breathy voice. My name is Herbert, and I will be your monster for the evening. Herbert? What kind of name is that for a monster? You don't sound scary at all. Have you ever scared a kid before? Well, no, but I have read several best books on the topic. Do you have long teeth and scratchy claws? I asked. No, but I have an overbite, and I'm a mouth breather. Listen. Herbert's panting was kind of scary, but it wasn't enough for me. There's Herbert. Does he look scary to you? Listen, Herbert, I'm sorry. I just don't think this is going to work. It's nothing personal, but, I really need a monster with, claws. Picky, picky, Herbert complained. As you wish, I'll go. There was some more creaking, then Herbert was gone. Some scratching warned me that a second monster had appeared. Good evening, he said in a high, silky voice. My name is Ralph, and I understand you need a monster with claws. If you would please lean over, I will hold out an arm for inspection. I crouched on the edge of the bed, hoping to see a horrible, shaggy arm with sharp, ragged nails. Look at that. Look at those eyes. Instead, I was surprised to see a sleekly brushed fur with smooth, shiny claws. Excuse me. I don't mean to be rude, I asked, but is that nail polish on your claws? Why, yes, it is, Ralph replied. I believe professional monsters should always be well groomed. I could tell that this was not going to work either. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Ralph, but I need a monster with, scary claws, like Gabe's, I thought. I heard some more scratching, and I knew Ralph was gone. A minute later, a third voice from under the bed rasped, "Check out these claws, kid." I gathered my courage and peered over the edge. The claws were impressive, jagged and dark and razor sharp. So far, so good. I was a little nervous. "Could you stick out your tail?" I whispered. "Sure, but don't get scared." I peeked through my fingers at the slimy tail slithering over the foot of my bed, and that's when I noticed the bow. Are you a girl monster?" "Of course I am," she snapped. "I'm Cynthia. Do you have a problem with that?" Yeah, I do," I admitted. "I definitely need a boy monster. Boy monsters are for boys, and girl monsters are for girls. Everybody knows that." "Well, aren't you a picky one?" she sniffed, and then she was gone. Was I being too picky? No. I knew that my monster needed to be well-clawed and menacing. The whole point of having a monster, after all, was to keep me in bed, imagining all the scary stuff that could happen if I got out. Right? Then I heard a shuffling noise and some slobbering. A fourth monster was under my bed. Hey, the name's Mac. One look at his claws proved that Mac was a big, scruffy boy monster. Phew, I shivered. Maybe this one would work out. "Those are excellent claws, but do you have a long tail?" I leaned over to see. "No, my tail is stumpy," Max slurped, "but I do have an unusually long tongue." "Why would I be afraid of a long tongue?" I asked. "Oh, I don't know. You never know when I might lick you." Ha! I fell back on the bed and laughed. "Well, if you're not even going to try to work with me," Mac whined. I held in my giggles. "I really don't think you should send me away," he warned. "Kids who reject 5 monsters in one night." "I did not reject 5 monsters," I interrupted. "My regular monster went fishing." "Fishing, eh? Maybe you just left because you're so picky. Fine, I'm out of here. But I wouldn't expect another monster tonight if I were you." How was I ever going to get to sleep without my monster? Look at him. See his face? Right there. What kind of face is that? That's a sad face, huh? Uh-oh. I was surprised to hear more creaking under the bed. Loud creaking, with scratching. I thought no more monsters were going to appear tonight," I said. "Sorry I'm late, kid." Phew, it was Gabe. "I thought I would enjoy fishing, but I didn't," he explained. "Those fish scare too easily. No challenge at all. You, however, are a challenge, my friend. You're almost too old to be afraid of monsters. You keep me on my toes." Toes, a delicious snack. The bed quivered as Gabe's stomach rumbled with hunger. "Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to start the evening with an ominous puddle of drool." I peeked over the edge of the bed. Green ooze spread soundlessly from underneath. Then the bed trembled as Gabe unfurled his spiked tail. He was daring me to guess where he might pop up. I shivered. There he is. "So, you had some substitute monsters tonight," Gabe said, sharpening his claws on my bedpost. "Were ya scared?" Then Gabe started tapping. I could tell he wanted to know if I still needed him. "No other monster can scare me like you," I giggled, diving under my covers and pulling them up tight. Through the blanket, I heard Gabe's soft, comforting snorts. "Ha! I knew it. We're made for each other," he growled. When my blanket started to slip off the bed, I knew Gabe was ready to eat. "Now, if you could please stick out your foot," he said. "I'd like to nibble your pinky." I yanked my blanket back up and scrunched my feet in so Gabe couldn't get them. No toes tonight, but you can have this, I offered, pushing a pillow off the bed. It didn't even hit the floor. Gabe was back. The ooze was perfect. Everything was back to normal. I shivered again. I'd be asleep in no time. The end. All right, so if you're interested, give us a call, 918-878-7733, and we'll be excited to help you find out anything you need to know about essential oils or make you an appointment with us at Grassroots HealthCare, 91st and Sheridan, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Thanks for joining us on our show.